This is StratNews Global. You're watching Talking Point. I'm Amitabh Revi, and this evening we're looking at the India-UAE trade deal. Our experts today, Ambassador Jayant Dasgupta, has been India's ex-envoy to the World Trade Organization. He's also been Secretary of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. Evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
And also joining us is Ambassador Venu Rajamony. He's been an ex-Indian ambassador to the Netherlands. He's been the Consul General in the UAE. He's written a book on the UAE while he was there. He's been the president, Indian president's ex-secretary. He's currently the OSD of the Kerala government for external cooperation and also a professor of diplomatic practice at the Jindal University. Ambassador Rajamony, welcome back to StratNews Global.
Thank you, Amitabh. Pleasure to be here.
Ambassador, just your quick take on the significance of this trade deal. Ambassador Rajamony.
You're asking yes.
Sorry. Is it to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, absolutely. It's an extremely important trade deal and a very important virtual summit. It is yet another step in a rapid coming close together of India and the UAE in a manner which has never happened before. From my days when I was Consul General of India in Dubai almost 10 years back, the biggest complaint that UAE used to have was that India neglects it, though UAE is right next door to us. And there is tremendous potential for bilateral cooperation between the two countries. Our relationship was marked to a large extent with official governmental neglect of each other. People-to-people relations, trade and commercial relations always flourished. But that governmental input, the governmental determination at the highest level to bring the two countries closer together is what characterizes this relationship today. And this virtual summit, which is happening right now, and the trade deal are very major steps forward in that direction.
Ambassador Dasgupta, this is the first trade deal that the Modi government has reached. Your views on the pros and the potential of it?
The first thing which needs to be noted is that the negotiations really started in September 2021 and they have concluded in February. So it is one of the fastest negotiated FTAs from the point of view of India. And even if you take it by global standards, it would be a very, very fast negotiated agreement. The second point is that it is a very substantive agreement in that more than 90% of the tariff lines have been offered by the UAE, whereas India also offered about 65% tariff lines. And the tariff lines will come to zero for the UAE from the date the agreement enters into force. The sectors which will be benefited from the side of India will be gems and jewelry, will be engineering goods, pharmaceuticals and chemicals. There is a special annex on pharmaceuticals and textiles and clothing, leather. So almost every sector in which India has an expertise and a presence in the global market, they will all have accelerated access, zero duty access, to put it simply, in the UAE. That is the second point. The third point is the UAE is one of the 6 countries or country groups in the GCC. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and Bahrain are the others. Now, the GCC has been negotiating an FTA with us, but it has been, it had not picked up pace. Now, because the UAE has zero duty access in the rest of the GCC countries, the GCC countries want to have a comprehensive FTA like the one which we have signed with the UAE with them too. So it is most likely to get accelerated and get concluded in the next 6 months, if not earlier. That would be a huge thing, because we would then have sewn up our regional trade agreements with the whole of the Gulf. Now, the fourth point is that a lot of trade takes place through the port of Dubai in the UAE to West Africa and East Africa, as well as to the other Middle Eastern countries. And of course, Pakistan. Let's not forget Pakistan.
Yeah.
So, our trade to all these countries will benefit as a consequence of this FTA. And finally, what we are doing is we are strengthening our bilateral bonds, because the UAE has also accepted and promised that it will invest in our infrastructure and in J&K as well, primarily in the infrastructure sector. So it enhances our cooperation, the strength of our bond, and it gets the UAE invested in India to start with in a much deeper manner than before.
Ambassador Venu Rajamony, I mean, you would have started the ball rolling in a sense when you were Consul General as well. The sectors that would be the most affected, which Ambassador Dasgupta mentioned, and the impact on what? We have almost 3.5 million an Indian community that's strong in the UAE, right?
3.3 million, yes. Yes, absolutely. And I would say that there is nobody happier than me at the pace and the quality with which the India-UAE relationship is changing and moving forward. But at the same time, I would also caution against overhype. India is ultimately a big prize. India is a country of 1.4 billion people. We are a huge, huge market. UAE is a tiny little country of 10 million people, of which the local residents are little over a million. Indians alone are 3.5 million. The UAE, because of its oil wealth, has tremendous capacity to invest in India, but that level of large-scale investments have not happened. Actually, I was just looking at a study which said that out of a total of around 67 billion two-way investments, almost 54 billion is India investing in UAE. India is a very major player in the UAE economy. India has been investing. The Indian community contains large number of businessmen and entrepreneurs, including many multimillionaires who are investing in UAE, who have in return also investing in India. So the investment story from UAE to India, while there is a lot of promise, while there is an agreement to take it to 75 billion, is yet to happen. It is predominantly in institutional investments in the capital markets. FDI is yet to happen in a big way, while Indian investments already are a major presence there. Similarly, in terms of trade, we already were very close trading partners of each other. Dubai has been a major hub for India's exports as well as India's imports. So we are already in a leading position. We are trying to take it to a yet higher level. But we are also opening up our markets, and we will have to see how this plays out, because there would be other countries who would now be able to invest in and would be able to trade with India through UAE by virtue of this agreement. And how that plays out in the Indian domestic market also has to be seen.
Ambassador Dasgupta, the point that Ambassador Rajamony is raising about the dangers of overhyping something like this. And when you look at, say, India rejecting joining RCEP, one of the reasons was, goods from third countries, which the ambassador was also alluding to, possibly Chinese cheap goods coming in. What's the danger of that in a deal like this?
The case of RCEP was on an entirely different footing, because, for one, subsidies which the Chinese give are completely non-transparent, and many of them are against the WTO's disciplines. So, and the rest of the world, the Americans, the Europeans, have been trying their level best to rein in China on the subsidies. So, in the case of the UAE, I don't think that would be a problem. The second aspect is about circumvention of the rules of origin, because I think Ambassador Rajamony also alluded to it, that there could be a case of third countries exporting through the UAE. Now, that would depend on how tight we have formulated the rules of origin bit in the FTA and how we implement it. Because normally the chambers of commerce and industry are entrusted with the responsibility of issuing certificates of origin. And the UAE has, as I understand, not very many manufacturing facilities. So manufactured goods, as far as they are concerned, I think it would not be too difficult to trace them and to find out the value addition. So that and India has been insisting in its more recent FTA negotiations that there should be traceability and there should be inspections also from either side in case there are doubts raised about the rules of origin being violated or circumvented. So I think that, of course, we can rule out more or less. But there would be investments taking place from India in the UAE and from elsewhere into the UAE for exporting to India, for exploiting the zero duty access into India. And that is something, of course, that we will, when you open yourself up to trade, when you get greater opportunities to export to another country, you also have to give up a little bit of your own. And what is very heartening is that, according to the projections, about 10 lakh jobs are going to be created because of this FTA in India alone. And of course, the UAE being a much smaller economy, a proportionately smaller number of new jobs will be created. So that is something which is we really look forward to. And I agree with Ambassador Rajamony that we should not overhype it, because part of the investment assurances that the UAE has been holding out have been assurances. They have not really been converted into reality yet. But we hope that with the signing of this agreement, we will turn over a new leaf and start much faster implementation and working out of the assurances into concrete reality.
Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal just tweeting, holding up the agreement that he signed with his counterparts, saying the sky is the limit, Master Rajamony. But in terms of, like both of you are pointing out, you have to give something to gain something. But the fears that are also there in terms of the UAE not really being a manufacturing, a hub of any sorts. It's more entrepot or a trading entity. There are some fears. Are they unfounded in terms of the UAE buying in bulk cheap from India and either reselling it to third countries or other continents? Or is that a fear at all, Ambassador Rajamony?
Certainly,
I mean, basically, like Indian goods would be competing against Indian goods. Like our exporters would be competing against cheaper goods that the UAE can buy and re-export. Is that a valid argument?
I think Ambassador Dasgupta would be better placed to take this argument, but I would like to pick up on the point that he made earlier, which is there might be companies from all over the world which will invest in UAE to access Indian market at zero tariff rate. Exactly in the same manner, one of the biggest trends in recent times has been Indian capital flowing out of India. And Indian businessmen themselves could go to UAE in even larger numbers. Already they are present in a big way. Already many rich Indians in Bombay and Delhi, etc., have second homes in UAE, are invested in the real estate sector in the UAE. So all this will get a greater fillip. You might, like, in opposition to our efforts to become an Atmanirbhar Bharat and to manufacture in India, to some extent, there would be a flow of investments into UAE to manufacture there, because undoubtedly it is much easier to set up a business, set up a factory, start manufacturing there than in India. So in a way, this agreement is a huge gain for UAE. And they have got that gain in return for some very conscious political gestures and political signaling that they have done. In that sense, they have played smart politics as well as smart business. They have been willing to abandon Pakistan to an extent, even over the ultra-sensitive issue of Kashmir, which has been long an issue where the Islamic countries have stood by Pakistan, and they have been willing to stand politically in support of India, but they are gaining in a very big way commercially out of this deal and out of a lot of other things which are happening. So this is something which we need to keep in mind.
I'll ask you to elaborate a little bit more on that a little later. But Ambassador Dasgupta, this argument about Indian exports competing with Indian exports in a sense.
Actually, that is not a very valid argument, because Indian exports, when they go out of the country, all the taxes that have been paid are supposed to be rebated. And the export product is exported without the burden of any tax. So, in fact, it used to be there under the duty drawback mechanism, under the advanced license mechanism. Now the RODTEP has come about. So, even those invisible collections which used to take place are getting rebated. So, it should be zero rated, as they say, the exports. So, once the transportation charges are paid and it lands, let's say, in Dubai port, and then it is re-exported, the price should be the same as it was at the Navi Mumbai port, let's say. So it shouldn't give any advantage unless there are hidden subsidies which are given by the UAE government to encourage the establishment of the UAE as an entrepot, which it already is, but no hidden subsidies are being paid. Dubai is one of the largest transshipment ports in the world, and it is not taking advantage of this fact. So I don't think there will be a change in the behavior of the countries or their businessmen. But what Ambassador Rajamony has pointed out, and I think there are figures to show that the Indian investment in the UAE is about 5 times more, or at least 4.5 times more than the UAE investments in India. And most of those investments have taken place in businesses, in real estate, of course. There has been a lot of investments. Now, the manufacturing sector or in the services sector, there could be investment flows from India. And they could, again, find their way back as export products into India. So that is something which could take place. But having said that, let us take the example of the agreements that we signed with Japan, with Korea, with the ASEAN, the FTAs. Japan had been investing, it goes at its own pace. The Koreans have, of course, enlarged their investments in, let's say, LG, Samsung, and Hyundai, etc. But the ASEAN investments have not flown into India to that extent to take advantage of zero duty access into ASEAN, back into ASEAN, or Indian investments have not taken place in the ASEAN region to gain benefit from zero duty access back into India. So I think investment decisions are based on a large number of factors, and this should not really be a great worry for India. Of course, some investments will take place, some exports will definitely result as because of this FTA. That is got to be taken in one stride. And as one opens up the economy more and more, there will be more imports, there will be more exports.
Sure. Ambassador, I just wanted you to elaborate on the political signaling that you were talking about, that the UAE has given. I don't want to sound crude, but in exchange for this deal, to elaborate a little bit more on that. Pakistan, of course, Kashmir came up, not just the political messaging, but Ambassador Dasgupta also mentioned that, again, promises of investment in Kashmir from UAE.
Well, no other country has made the kind of gesture which the UAE has made vis-a-vis Kashmir, to make an official push and to say we are going to send our business, we are going to send our leading logistics firm, DP World, one of our biggest real estate commercial mall operator, the Emaar, supermarket chains. Both the supermarket chains, incidentally, are Indian-owned supermarket chains operating in the UAE. One is Lulu Group of Yusuf Ali, and the other is Almaya of the Vachanis. So they were consciously pushed to go to Kashmir as a part of a government-to-governmental agreement. They were asked to look at the investment possibilities there. And here again, something which suits the UAE is that it has been a long-term concern for them that they need to ensure food security for themselves. There isn't much that grows in the UAE, and they have to rely on countries outside the Gulf for food security. And India is the best positioned. India has been traditionally meeting UAE's food security needs. India continues to remain the best positioned country to meet the food needs of UAE as well as the entire Gulf. So in Kashmir, they have also made an effort to focus on food processing, to buy apples and other agricultural products from Kashmir, even to take saffron from Kashmir into the UAE, etc. So the government has really put its weight behind sending their business into Kashmir. But that conscious effort, is it enough to overcome the political realities of Kashmir, including an ever-present threat of terrorism, as well as huge political discontent? Is something we still have to wait and watch. Business and trade will happen, but it is rare that they happen in very adverse political circumstances. So you need a congenial political environment also for trade and business to flourish. So once again, Kashmir is more symbolism than substance. When if actually great trade and commerce and investments have to happen, we have to whether they will happen and whether even if they happen, whether they will succeed, we have to wait and watch. So Kashmir is one example, but still, when the OIC meeting took place in Abu Dhabi, they invited Sushma Swaraj as a guest of honor. They gave the special national award to Prime Minister Modi, the Sheikh Zayed award. So, and then the kind of traffic which has happened, Prime Minister Modi visiting UAE 3 times, UAE leaders coming here, all this is quite new and quite recent. It has not happened before. And this has come along with a long-standing trend of the Pakistani population in all the Gulf countries declining and the Indian population growing, a conscious realization within the leadership in the Gulf that people from India are far more reliable for them. People from India are not extremists. They do not come with too much baggage. We cannot say nobody goes without baggage, but most of them...
आपका हार्दिक स्वागत है.
This is, in fact, the Prime Minister's comments during the summit. You could hear there. We'll play out the video again without the audio. Ambassador Dasgupta, in your view, what's the political or economic rationale for a sudden spate, starting now with the UAE, of the CEPAs, CECAs, FTAs, early harvest deals that the Modi government is going in for?
I think the Modi government had made it very clear when it had to walk out of the RCEP negotiations at the very last moment. I think that was something which was not taken very kindly to by the rest of the world, because you don't leave things for the last moment to walk out of a negotiation. You do it much earlier. So that was the only negative point. I think the government made it very clear that it would go in for bilateral deals where there was give and take, where India also stood to gain an equal amount as was to be given by India. So this is of a piece with that. The UAE agreement is of a piece with that. There will always be mismatches in terms of the size of the economy, in terms of the diversity of the economy, the kind of things it produces or specializes in. UAE is, I think, the second or third largest oil supplier to us and the second largest gas supplier to India. So it has certain niche areas. Of course, it also it exports a lot of gems and precious stones sourced from elsewhere in the world. But it has acted as an entrepot, so it gets the benefit of that. And it wants to to diversify its manufacturing base, its economy, because starting from Saudi Arabia, which I think Prince Salman has set in motion a very ambitious program, and I'm talking, of course, a bit uh, at a tangent, but the deal is still some way away. But the endeavor in the whole of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, including the UAE, is to not put all the eggs in one basket, that of oil and gas, but to start things, manufacturing to start with, but also services. Dubai has come up as a very, very important and promising financial services center, and it is in the UAE. It has stolen a march over, let's say, Mumbai and our gift city, which we are trying to, encourage and to build to a very large level as an international center. So we have a lot to learn from them. They also stand to gain a lot from this agreement. And what better incentive than to have the huge uh, market of India with, of course, certain problems there, which we'll have to sort out for making investments much easier for them to make in India, so that because they are all, they all have large sovereign funds which they are investing, and the other countries of the Gulf are also investing. The Kuwaitis, for instance, the Omanis, the Qataris. So we are also looking at investments which will act as a kind of a cement to bond our relationship into a far stronger bond, and to entwine our economies together. So that is this is the first step in that direction, the UAE FTA, and we intend to go
Um,
further than this and have one with the GCC countries.
Ambassador Rajamony, Indian foreign policy in light of new geopolitical realities, how do you see what's happening in West Asia in terms of the Abraham Accords and then what is now being called the so-called West Asia Quad?
Well, I think all these present opportunities for us, which we must take advantage of, we must exploit. But these are all early days yet, and we are not going to see remarkable results or spectacular things coming out of them very quickly. The big what development in the Abraham Accords was the decision of the UAE Bahrain at US prompting to establish normalcy of relations with Israel. That is what has opened up what was a frozen stalemate in that region. And we, by virtue of having good relations with the UAE, having good relations with Israel, with the US, in a way have also come in with looking at what opportunities present to us and where can India fit in, either with our technology or our talent or our entrepreneurship, or in terms of our market and our scientific base within our country, providing the basis for collaboration, joint ventures between all these countries. So there are many opportunities there, but we have to wait and see how they go, how they emerge, and whether we are really able to capitalize on them.
Ambassador Dasgupta, in light of that is a question from one of our viewers, Kurt Cobain. Considering strategic divergences vis-a-vis Iran and the Iranian embrace of China and antagonism with Israel, how is the West Asian Quad expected to reconcile differences and further India's interests?
Well, I think Ambassador Rajamony would be in a better position to answer this. But as a layman, I would say that Iran is not our enemy. Iran has been a friend for centuries. We have so many things in common with Iran, and we have always had very fine relations with Iran. That Iran is getting closer to China is something which is a fact of history now. But our relationship with Iran will remain as strong as ever. And of course, once this present kind of uncertain environment in the Middle East settles down a bit, which we expect now that President Biden is coming into his own and President Trump has left the scene quite a while ago. The Iran Accord, for instance, the six-country accord about the nuclear deal with Iran, that was one of the sore points. So Iran has been forced to take certain decisions, to my mind, as a layman, because of the crippling sanctions against Iran. So once there is give and take again on the part of President Biden and the Iranian government, I think things will come back to an even keel. It is in nobody's interest, not certainly in the US's interest, to have Iran driven into the arms of the Chinese, and for the Chinese to exploit them in whichever way they want to. So I think good sense will prevail, and Iran will play an important role. Of course, there are certain antipathies between Iran and the Saudi Arabian government, which has been existing for quite some time. So we don't want to get into that. We want to have good relations with both Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries as well as Iran.
Ambassador, if you want to take that, and there's an added one from Ozgur Chelik who says, will the UAE become an alternative to Chabahar? How is India's involvement in that project going? Or let me flip that around. Can Chabahar be used to get cheaper Indian exports to the UAE?
Not really, not at all.
No.
Again,
Okay.
Dubai, the advantage of Dubai, the infrastructure they have built up, the reputation they have, the facilities they have, the convenience that they provide, which already exists. None of this can be replaced by anybody else in the region in the near future. So Chabahar will not even come anywhere nearby. And the purpose of Chabahar was to try and reach landlocked Afghanistan predominantly, and not to have Pakistan try and block our trade with Afghanistan, to have an alternate route through which we could trade with Afghanistan. But then Afghanistan itself has now gone into a spin with Taliban. And when the sanctions are lifted, Chabahar will serve the purpose of a stronger and a greater economic relationship with Iran, which, as Ambassador Dasgupta pointed out, has always been a close friend and a civilizational friend, so to speak, and will remain both in geographical terms as well as political and economic terms, a country important to us. But still, going back to your first question, the reality is we are living in fast-changing times. The whole global strategic geopolitical landscape is changing very fast. Lots of new things are happening, and India needs to keep pace with all of them. Traditionally, our foreign policy approach to many issues has been that of a fence sitter. We have not been very aggressive. We have not chosen one side over the other. But increasingly, as confrontation grows, as a new Cold War emerges, as tensions between US and China, US and Russia, or the West and Russia grow, we will be pushed to try and take positions. Even on Iran and the Gulf, you saw what is happening in Yemen. The Houthis are shooting missiles at UAE. Yeah. It is a huge disruption to the UAE economy, to the sense that UAE is a sanctuary for everybody in the region. It's a safe sanctuary, both in terms of physical security as well as financial security. So all those concepts can be challenged if the Houthis continue this, and the Houthis are being backed by Iran. And it is not that the UAE does not know this. And the trouble in Yemen, in a way, is also a product of some very aggressive and unusual or first time ever foreign policy stances adopted by both UAE and Saudi Arabia to go in to Yemen and interfere, something which they have not done before. So as they grow richer, as they grow more powerful, as new leaders emerge in this country and take complete charge, then they come with their own ideas, and they want to, in a way, redesign the region to suit their needs and their interests. And when they do that, there is going to be disruption. There is going to be an upheaval in many ways. And India would be hard pressed on whose side they choose and whether they continue to sit in front on the fence and what policies they take. So I think a lot of these things cannot be predicted in advance. We must take it as they come. as of now, it is very clear India is not in a mood to sacrifice our relationship with Iran under any circumstance. This UAE development, the trade deal, the virtual summit brings us even closer to UAE, and through the UAE, even closer to the GCC countries. It consolidates our economic relationship. It strengthens our political relationship. And already we have a very strong people-to-people relationship with all our people there. But we must remain cautious about the tensions in the region. We must remain cautious about what is happening globally vis-a-vis US and China and Russia and Iran. And we must wait and watch how the US-Iran rapprochement happens and what kind of fallout it will have on Saudi Arabia or an Iran or a UAE, who are all in a way very proactive in the region right now, along with Iran, which has also been a major player. So it is a fast-changing world which India has to watch very carefully and move forward step by step, tread very carefully, feeling each stone as we go forward.
Well, one of those steps has been taken today, and I request my producers Manas and Tanmay to just raise the audio on the pictures that we're seeing from the joint press conference.
We're transitioning ships. This CEPA, with our last long-lasting trusted ally, will be the foundation stone for this next era of success. Thank you again to the Prime Minister Modi and to Your Excellency Piyush Goyal for your commitment to this process and for the friendship that we cement today.
Thank you, sir. Now we request His Excellency Dr. Thani bin Ahmed Al-Zuhari.
I will not go before you.
Please.
No, I will not go before you.
Sir. May I request Honorable Piyush Goyal ji to address all of us, give opening words.
Thank you very much for your very warm words, Your Excellency. Thank you, Dr. Thani, for your leadership of the last many months of painstaking effort, which, if I may call, was nothing less than a labor of love to work towards the success of this comprehensive economic partnership agreement. Thank you, Dr. Al-Banna, His Excellency, the Ambassador of UAE to India, who initiated the original dialogue, breaking away from decades of uncertainty in our relationship, our efforts to try and get an agreement between the GCC countries and India, and was willing to chart new territories and new avenues between the UAE and India for mutual benefit and the prosperity of both countries, the UAE and India. As India celebrates 75 years of independence and UAE celebrates the 50th anniversary of its foundation, it is an appropriate time to reset our relationship, taking it to much greater levels than ever before. And ever since 2017, when both countries embarked on a comprehensive strategic partnership covering a very wide array of subjects, ever since the growing bonds between the leaders of the two countries, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and His Highness the Crown Prince of UAE, we have been witnessing a growing synergy between the two countries and a deepening of the bonds of brotherhood between the people of the two countries. Both the UAE and India are natural partners because we complement each other. There's hardly any element of competition between these two major economies. We are both for rules-based fair trade. We both believe in engaging with each other in a spirit of reciprocity, and we both believe that the people of both countries, businesses in both countries, should mutually benefit from our deepening engagement. And I think that is truly the defining factor which helped us conclude a comprehensive economic partnership. Mind you, friends from the media, this is not an interim arrangement or an interim agreement. It's a complete and comprehensive economic partnership finalized in the shortest possible time that any such comprehensive agreement anywhere in the world has witnessed in history. To my mind, an agreement covering such a wide array of subjects, covering free trade, covering digital economy, covering government procurement, covering many strategic areas, an 881-page document, legally scrubbed, protecting the interests of businesses and the people, not for a year or 2 or 10 years, but for decades. After all, free trade agreements have to literally use the crystal base and look into the future. Done in 88 days, was a 24-hour engagement, the teams working day and night. Honorable Minister Dr. Thani, under the leadership of the UAE government and with the blessings and support of His Highness the Crown Prince, with deep engagement from my good friend Minister Abdullah, and a regular contact almost every second day on the phone, every 4 days on a video conference between the ministers, the teams working, burning the midnight oil, 88 days. And we've concluded one of the most balanced and fair and equitable free trade agreement.
That is Piyush Goyal there. Ambassador Jayant Dasgupta, as you were saying, this is not an interim deal. This is the final one, as he's saying, 88 days. Your final comments, sir, I know you would like to study the fine print, and we could possibly discuss that a little later. But Ambassador Dasgupta, your final comments on the significance again.
I'm very happy that this has happened, not only from the point of view of trade, but in consolidating our relationship with the UAE to start with, and taking it further deeper with the rest of the GCC countries. So that is something which is very much to the good, and I am very enthused by this agreement, and I hope that the GCC agreement will also fall into place very quickly, a comprehensive free trade agreement.
That's exactly Omkar Datpe saying, with the upcoming FTAs with the GCC and Israel, along with the FTA with the UAE, Indian goods can reach Europe without facing technical hurdles. Add to that the West Asian Quad efforts to increase connectivity. But Ambassador Rajamony, if you want to have the final words, as you said at the beginning of the show, there are things that will have to be closely monitored.
881 pages to be read, studied and understood. Which has been prepared in 88 days, but still compliments to the negotiators, compliments to the two countries. As I also began saying that the UAE is an extremely important country for India. It is a relationship whose potential has not been fully exploited. The sky is indeed the limit in terms of what we can do between the two countries. But we in India have to keep in mind that it has to be a two-way relationship. We would like more UAE investments in India. The trade deal opens up a huge market for the UAE. It will probably give a big boost to more manufacturing in the UAE. It might other countries may invest there more to access the Indian market, because the ease of doing business in UAE is far, far greater than that of India. So I would say, while I'm delighted at what has happened, I would still wait and watch and be concerned about how the whole FTA rolls out and what next in our otherwise excellent economic relationship.
Ambassador Venu Rajamony, absolute pleasure having you and your experience and expertise on StratNews Global again. And thank you for your time, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Ambassador Dasgupta, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Whenever we try to understand trade and economics, we keep coming back to you, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And a big shout out to our production team, especially to Manas Tarai and to Tanmay and Ankush and Aryaman, who put out all the social media tweets, videos that we were getting even while we were live on this show. You can send in your feedback for this show and all our other programs on our YouTube channel. To subscribe as well and like this video if you've stayed on, which quite a few of you have, and do share the link as well with your personal and professional contacts. This is the Talking Point on StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh Revi.